Hello everyone and welcome back to another tutorial video, and today we're going to look at the holding and how that is done in the 737. So first of all, this is a voiceover. There was some flickering issues on the few first seconds of the recording, so instead of recording everything again, just doing the introduction over the voiceover here. So first of all, as always, a disclaimer: I'm not a real-world pilot, just a flight sim enthusiast. So it might not be 100% accurate, but it should be good enough for a realistic procedure in the simulator. Without further ado, we can just jump straight into it. First, what are we doing currently? We are currently approaching Valpo, the initial approach fix for runway 01 left in Gardermoen, and we have just been cleared by ATC to hold at Valpo. So, here we have the holding on the chart on the star. And we will just jump straight into that. So, to get the holding, you can either use a specific fix, or the aircraft can hold at the present position. So the 737 don't need a specific waypoint or fix to do a holding. You can hold exactly where you are at. Quite rarely used, but if you click the present position, as you can see, it's going to make a holding at the place or at the position you are. So you can just click the present position PPOS, and then you can hold at your present position. In this case, we have been cleared by published on the chart, so we will hold at Valpo, and we place it in the box down here. And here we have all the information we're going to put in. Just disregard that. So first of all, the inbound course. We can see the inbound course here, where the arrow points towards the fix. 075. 117 is wrong, so 075. 075 inbound. As you can see, we're going to do right turns, so that's correct. Minimum altitude is 4,000, so we just also set 4,000 feet, so that the aircraft, so that we remember. Sorry, it was 10. There you go. There you go. So that we remember that the minimum safe altitude over there is 4,000 feet. Leg time. It is a standard holding. It doesn't specify anything else, so that's going to be 1 minute. Below 14,000 feet, above 14,000 feet, it is going to be 1.5 minutes. Leg distance, don't really use that unless you have it specified on the chart itself. So we will just leave that blank as well. So you can just execute, and as you can see, the holding have been created, and now the aircraft is going to do it. Currently approaching 5,000 as well, so that is good. And it is also slowing down, hopefully. No, it isn't. Sorry for that. Now it is slowing down. So, what else? What other information do we have in here? So, we do have the when it comes to like the speed itself, the best speed is stated here. Best speed 201 knots. So, the speed that you're going to hold at the holding is going to be your minimum maneuvering speed or flap up speed plus a little bit more, depends a little bit. That's going to give you the most savings, especially when it comes to fuel economics. So you'll save more fuel by doing that or holding that speed. It is no point in having a high speed in a holding, since you're just going to be flying around at the same place. So it doesn't really disregard. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter if you have a high speed or not. So it is better to hold the best speed that is in the FMS, going to save you a bit more fuel. When it comes to the fuel, we also have the hold available here. So that's basically how long you are able to hold with the current fuel you have on board and the current conditions. This one here takes into account the final reserve fuel you have in the FMS. So it is basically going to tell you how much holding time you have from the current fuel you have until you reach the final reserves you have entered in the FMS. So in this case, that's going to be 50 minutes, and the number before the plus there is going to be in hours. So 0 hours plus 50 minutes. So we can hold for 50 minutes under the current conditions before we are reaching the final reserve fuel. Really good to know when you are clear for holding. When it comes to maximum speeds, the maximum speed for holding below 40,000 feet is 230 knots. Above 14,000 feet, it is 240 knots, or to be specific, above 1,400 feet to or 14,000 feet up to 20,000 feet is 240 knots. About 20,000 feet, and I think it is up to flight level T5 or something. Don't really remember. Up to one of the 30,000 levels, it is maximum 265 knots. and after that again it is maximum a Mach 0.83 or something like that. So yeah, it is. But what you mostly need to remember is 240 below 14,000, sorry, 230 below 14,000, and above 14,000 between and below 20,000, 240. So 230 and 240. Again, when it comes to leg time, it is 1 minute below 14,000 feet, and above 14,000 feet is 1.5 minutes. The leg distance again, it is just for if you have it specified. Instead, if they want you on the holding at a specific fix, want you to hold the specific distances instead of timings. So yeah, that is not going to be really relevant in most holdings. When it comes to the holding time again, or sorry, the leg time, you can request longer. If you're expected to hold for a while, for example, you may request a longer leg time. This is going to increase comfort per the passengers because they're going to be flying on the legs a little bit longer than 1 minute. For example, you can request 2 minutes. That's going to be doubling your leg time, and that's going to be fewer turns, and going to make it a little bit more comfortable for the passengers. But if you're going to be able to grant it from the ATC, that's something else. It depends on if you are going to be flying outside the protected area of the holding, for example. So you might not be able to grant it, but you can ask if you want to increase passenger comfort, basically, so we have fewer turns in the holding. When it comes to the holding itself, regarding time, if your ATC expect you to be holding longer than 20 minutes, they will normally give you an expected approach time. Just note that the all-Watsim and IVAO controller, for example, might not give you this. So if you have a lot of traffic into an airport and you think you're going to be holding for a while, then if you have time, ask what's the expected approach time. Because all of this goes down to alternate or diversion fuel. In this case, we are able to hold for about now 47 minutes before reaching the final reserves. But if there's a lot of traffic and you might hold for longer than you have, for example, if you have when you're first approaching the airport, you are very close to the final reserve from the current fuel you have on board. You might need to then think about diverting if you don't know how long it's going to take before you're landing. If you are basically guaranteed to land at the airport, like the weather conditions are good and it's just traffic that is holding you behind, and you're sure that's going to be land on the airport, then you can commit to land at the airport and you can burn through the alternate fuel in the holding or on the approach. And that's if you are sure that you're going to be able to land at the airport. If not, of course, you're going to divert, but you can just use your diversion fuel as well if you are sure that you're going to be able to land at the airport. So yeah, and that's going to also give you a little bit more extra fuel as well for the holding, for example, if you then need to hold for longer. When it comes to descending, for example, in a holding, we have some standards there as well. So in a holding, you will normally descend about 1,000 on the minimum to 1,500 feet on the maximum. Really important that you consider this and do this correctly, especially if there is other traffic descending in the same holding. The reason why is because if multiple aircraft are descending, if for example an aircraft above you descends faster than you, he's going to catch up with you, and that's going to make a mess in the holding, especially like when the TCAS comes active and so on. So minimum 1,000 feet, maximum 1,500 feet. So when you are declared to descend, don't just press the level change or altitude intervent button, go vertical speed 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet a minute. Really, really, really important. So in this case, the minimum safe altitude for holding here at Valpo is 4,000 feet, so we can descend down to 4,000 feet. That's it. Vertical speed and minus 1,000 feet a minute. Again, it's just 1,000 to go, so we don't really need to go faster than 1,000 feet a minute. So again, can't specify this enough. It's really, really important. And there you go, 1,000 to go already. So yes. When it comes to the exiting the hold itself, there is two different ways to do it. You can either click the exit hold here in the holding page. If you click that, the aircraft is then going to continue or finish the turn. If you're, for example, turning away from the fix, because it is going to then turn and then fly over the holding fix, in this case Valpo, as you can see here, and then continue on the flight plan you already have in the FMS. So if you, for example, then are cleared, in this case, if you're cleared to approach 01 left via the VALP transition, then we will go exit hold, for example, and then the aircraft will just turn around, fly over VALP, and then continue on the flight plan. But that's not normally what's used. You normally will use just a direct. For example, if you are clear direct to Urgas, just click Urgas, fly direct, boom, then the holding will be deleted. So so yeah, it is normally direct that is used, but it depends on the situation you are in. But the direct is going to delete the holding when you click execute. The exit hold, the holding will not be deleted before you are finished, before you pass the holding fix. So so yeah, two different ways to do it basically. So yes, we just go back to V now here as well, so we have that. When it comes to custom holdings, I've got a request on that. Yeah, you can just click the PPOS present position, so that you will hold at your present position. But if you want to make a custom waypoint, for example, you want to hold, if you have an engine outside, for example, or you have an engine failure and you have an engine outside, you're going to fly straight ahead from the runway, 25 knots, for example, and hold. That is, then it is good to know how to do this, so you can actually enter that holding, since it is not a specific fix, but a specific distance from your runway. The thing you can do then is, in this case, you can just go to not exit hold, sorry. We can't really, yeah. But to make a custom waypoint, you will just first of all select the fix. We say that we're going to be holding at 10 miles out from 19 right, the opposite side of runway 01 left. Then we're going to enter the fix, in this case Gardermoen. We will enter the radial, so basically the heading, the inbound track. So since the runway heading for 19 right is 192 degrees, it's going to be 192 degrees. And then you hit the slash down here, and then you enter the distance, so in this case 10 miles. Then you have made a custom waypoint. If you just, for example, select it down here, you can now see that we have a custom waypoint down here. It's a little bit hard to see, so we'll just enter it a little bit further out. We will say 15 miles then. 192, and then 15 miles, and then we just select it over here. And as you can see, we have now made a custom waypoint, 15 miles straight ahead from Gardermoen. So that's how we can do it with the custom waypoint. And just and to make this as a holding, you can either just make it a custom waypoint, set it in the legs page, and then copy it over to the holding page, like we did earlier, with the holding on the holding page with the in the empty scratch or in the empty box in the bottom there. Or you can just enter it directly in here, the custom waypoint, and then click it directly into the scratch, and then just, or the box, sorry, the empty box, and then place it in the legs page, holding at the specific waypoint. I can show it to you after we are exiting this hold here. So just erase that at the moment, and yeah. So again, we can just go ahead and exit the holding straight away. So exit. As you can see, the aircraft will then turn around and fly over Valpe, so we can execute. So we will do a nice 360 here. And as you can see, the exit hold is, or the exit is now armed. So it isn't finished, it isn't deleted, it is just armed, and it's going to fly around and over Valpe very soon. So it isn't really complicated. So yeah, but again, a few things to be precise of. Especially if you're flying into mountainous areas, for example, or a lot of terrain in the vicinity. Make sure that you have the correct inbound course, that you know the safe altitude for the holding, and also that you have the correct distance or leg time inserted. Really important. If it states any different leg times or even a leg distance, be sure to have that in the FMC. so we are staying within the protected area of the holding. Really important, especially in mountain where there's a lot of terrain in the vicinity. So yeah, also on the descent, make sure minimum 1000 feet a minute, maximum 1500 feet a minute. Really sure, especially if it is busy, a lot of aircraft in the same holding and you're descending in it. Really important. And again, also be sure that you monitor your fuel. You don't want to use too much fuel in the holding. If you are not expected to land anytime soon, you are running out of fuel, and yeah, just request and divert basically if that is necessary. Most of the time that isn't necessary at all, but just make sure that you're aware of fuel on board the aircraft, so you're not running out because you're holding too long. And also try to also set this best speed as well. Now, for example, the VNAV is selected to 20 knots. That won't be the optimal speed for the holding, so make sure that you are having that, so you are sure that you are saving as much as possible. So there you go, we exit the holding. So now we can select the custom holding. So you can go Echo November Golf Mike 192 15 hold. Yeah, sorry, we can't enter it here. We need to enter it here. And now inbound course 192 right turns. Again, we can also select the altitude of 4000 feet as a safe altitude. Okay, that didn't work, but yeah. And then we can also then execute, and there you go. Now we have a custom holding over here. We can also fly directly to it. So execute, and now we can see we can actually fly directly to the holding itself. Execute. Okay, that didn't really work out, but I hope you understand my point there. That's how we make a custom holding for on a custom waypoint. Just to fix the radial outbound from the fix, and then the distance. So yeah. So that's it, or that should be it for this. If you have any questions, of course, please just leave a comment below the tutorial video, or if you are watching any of the further live streams, ask there. And yeah, again, that should be it. Hope that you have learned something today. I hope to see you again on the next flight. So have a good one. Bye bye.